Uh, Zero ends. All right. Welcome again to another stream. As you know, the title, it is titled, and let me get the actual name, The Endangered Black Family in the 21st Century, Chapter 11, Coping with Alienation. Um, as you know, if you're new to this channel or eventually come across certain topics and book readings like this and many more to come, just give a side note. This is soon going to be the conclusion. Well, it's not the conclusion yet. We still have like, how many more pages? From what I'm looking at this now, it looks like we have 20 pages left. Or I should say 30. But a chapter or two more left. So today, we're going to deal with certain sections of coping with what we call alienation. But really, the title is truly given out, which states coping with male and female alienation in the coming bad years. Now, as you all know, Nathan and Julie Hare's two educators, one PhD, I think both of them got PhDs last time I checked. And throughout the coming years ahead, and let me play this in the background so you can see that. Oh. You will notice that they have predicted what's going to happen to black people within the end of this century, moving on to the 21st century. And throughout this little chapter, we're going to probably go through certain paragraphs, sentences, to see what their views of how male and female relationships between black people are going to cope with alienation in the coming bad years. So, in one moment, I will begin. Okay, we are about to begin, and let me make sure everything is running smoothly. Oh, yes, it is. Let me see if I can lower this so I can see what's going on. And it looks like things are running. I'm just going to shrink this so I'm able to see. Okay, everybody. Looks like everything's good. So we could now begin. And like I said, I'm probably going to go through this. So bear with me. I'm going to get a good look. Perfect. All right. Yeah, that's perfect. Yep, that's perfect enough. So let's begin. And like always, make sure you subscribe to this channel, this podcast especially. Okay. Coping with male and female alienation in the coming bad years. By now, the black woman is inclined to see her problems as one of what they call primarily resulting from some felt inadequacy of the black male. The black male recognized that his problems derive from the white system of oppression. But when feeling, or by what he said, but often feels powerlessness to cope and block from the avenues of social power, may overcompensate in the sexual. He will be all the more man, so help him in his confrontations with his woman. If employed, instead of sustaining his relentlessness search for a new job, he may be overcome by an anxiety and simply decides, as in the case of one fella, to hide out in the closet by day in order to try to catch his woman cheating in the night. At other times, he is inclined to patch up his besieged masculinity with some municipality of women. And the very conglomerate of which perverts him or prevents him from quite fully and forcefully confronting and shaping a lasting relationship with either one. Paradoxical, many find they have many women but still can't be with someone they truly love. A brother may have a choice of women, while increasingly the corporate sister may have a high-paying job and a sleek condominium, only to sail around in her new car and Calvin Klein alone. Wonderful, how blue can she get? So what happens when your eyes meet mine? Let's take the black man and woman one at a time. First, Nathan will speak for just this once, then Julian. Let's give a round of applause. When you're in love with a strong black woman, these things are not necessarily autographical or personal, but they reflect our clinical studies of the situation, personalizing. It seems sometimes that where the patriarchal system encouraged the too frequent tendencies of black women to place the blame for their financial predicament on the black man, the feminist movement now urge her to even hold him excessively accountable for her emotional distress as well. And these two forces, or disaffectionness, the economic and the personal R's, often confuse, and confound by whom will weep for the dreams of the black male. The black woman will categorize the black man for his financial failures, then compare him to her image of the white man, while the white man pulls down tighter on the black man purse strings and buckles him under a low and rigid ceiling of financial and personal or professional resource. In the current and coming bad days of inflation and recession, the financial feeble black male will increasingly find that his woman is losing the last drop of faith in the capacities and even his enduring good intentions, but more about that later. For the moment, let us take up the issues of personal relationships. Understand as we go along that these are shaped and affected by the circumstance in which we find ourselves, but that is too much to expect, but the oppressors will voluntarily reverse himself and lift us up. That we alone must be or must do or instigate. As Fanon observes, the oppressor often work through the woman, wrenching her free from old customs, old ideals, winning her over to his value of materialism. We know a lot of chicks now that love things and buy material things. Anyway, and through her controlling the man, how can the black man resist and keep up with the color Jonas simulate or what do you call it, situationals, or simultaneously? Many women are accordingly contradictors and secretly wishing their man to resist oppression, yet fear the white man lash too hard, the threat of the loss of a job, or the inability to meet the Scandinavian modern veneer monthly furniture bills, or the second mortgage on the house. She will strongly urge other men to reckless militancy. But it is for a different story when it comes around to her own fellows. In her relationship with the black male, the strong black woman may long to subdue the strong black macho man, but once having succeeded, lost interest in him. Psychoanalysis, Karen Hernian, through a feminist of the Marcus Garvey era, reported finding a syndrome of feminine machism among peasant women wherein they don't or do not feel love unless they were suffering. Apparently, as they had seen their mothers suffer before at the hands of their fathers and other men. Our own studies show that the black woman is proud of her strength, but she is ambivalent about it in that she feels her strength has largely been forced upon her historically, and that her strength will someday be the death of her, or at least her ability to get along with black men. It's already present too many problems she feels to her in relation to the black male, and most black women will secretly tell you that they would give their right arm to have a strong black man to stand beside them. Yet the black woman has incorporated the stereotypic and certain realities of the black male failure to thrive in an oppressive environment, a patriarchal and resist society's weariness he posed in the white man's mind and the primary threat to him and his dominance. The black woman longed for a black man with strength and precision or promise, even the chance herself to be weak sometimes, to have a steady shoulder to lean on, but fears to let herself go, cannot indulge her luxurious fantasies that the black male will still be there, and even then they will, or that he will be a steady lean post in times of storm and trouble. Some, what Kingsley Cleavers has called a broken patriarchy, a phenomenon that was misnamed in the black matriarchy by poetic socialists of the post-depression era. But it is phenomenon, this what they call topsy-turvy situation of relative powerlessness of the black male, which is real by any other name and most by dealt with by black people, cannot be wished or even rationalized away with rhetoric of the white liberal oppressors. Ooh. As things now stand, the white feminists are clouding it over with the notion that it doesn't matter, that indeed men need not excel economically and psychologically, but she has nevertheless failed to restrain the reach of the white man over her. The white man, full-time medium income relatively to the white woman, has not changed since the onslaught of feminism. And the black male, who has lost relative grounds despite a brief flash in the pulpit in between World War II, or pipe pen. And the current white feminist years, feminism allows the white man to keep his act together while he further alienates and distorts and confuses black males' female relationships. Do you follow that? Do you get that? Good. This trend in turn impacts upon the pulverized the black male relationship with the black woman, which now are compounded by the what they call ambiguities and rationalization resulting from the ideals of rhetoric of an anti-male, even anti-material white feminist. The white race has a woman problem, the black race has a woman problem, and a man problem, in that unlike the white man, the black man is also oppressed. The white woman has only to raise herself to the level of her man. If the black woman moves up without a simultaneous escalation of the black male, she will compound her isolation and too often look at rounds to find that there is no strong black man to stand beside her. But let us become reluctant to marginalize and to fear the strong black woman. Moving out instead, meet her to grapple from center, to learn to live with her, to cherish her strengths. She and the strong black woman will rear our strong black race now, Julian. The seduction of a macho man. I use the word seduction not merely to signal a discussion of how to deal with a so-called macho man, but also to set the stage for showing how a certain kind of black man is seduced by the system of oppression and his own psychology into prenatal and sometimes pathetic self-defeating. In the first place, let us say at the onset that machoism is an exaggerated awareness and asserts of masculinity. According to Webster's dictionary and psychological theory, would suggest some personality disorders, there some compensatory defense, machoism or macho-intuition at work. I think I'll pronounce that again. Macho intuition at work. The macho has apparently narcissism, is not true self-love, but a feeling of failure in being loved, having given up on the possibility of being loved by others. The macho man grows preoccupied with self-love in the quest to what they call patch up his injured self-esteem. He may need or convert to a manipulacity, what they call multiplicity of women, and some from the excessive ritualism obedience from a woman as symbol of the female love he longs for but cannot feel. Others take up a psychic war with women out of deep need to be nurtured, seeing everything women they meet as replicants of their mothers who intimidate them in infancy, seem all-powerful and mysterious, and later withheld goodies and nurturance from their within, kept their hands out of the cookie jar. Such men are women as an inexhaustible repository or cupboard of nutrients and satisfaction. But since no woman can replenish, let alone undo the lost nutrients and anguish of sense of nourishment and anguish at the mother breast and cupboard, they are doomed forever to a infantile dissatisfaction and longing, repeating the fight out all over the unresolved conflict with their mother. Romantic love, leaving so much to the unconscious, simultaneously infantile. And anxiety regarding loss of objects, significant personal of love, one and or these personal loves. By social psychology, aside, the black woman is tired of standing in front of too many black male in order to doubtly try supporting two egos, her own and his, tired of raising one boy after another when they're not her sons. We can't stand the simple pain of his displaced rage too much longer, though we know the problem and from where it springs, or whence it springs. For a certain kind of black man, everything under the sun, and frequently things that shine above it, are blamed on his black woman, his failure that it is for all the success or singularity his. For another thing, it sometimes seems that black women have been conditioned in the economics of the cupboard with constant chances to compare the white woman cupboard and her own are for more fragile and watchful of the rainy days, while too many black men and the sisters feel brought up as soldiers, cowboys, and warriors would rather stand out in the storm. Yes, the black woman is frequently told that if she doesn't want to go along with all of his ideals, especially the economics, she'll be the cause of her black male's downfall. Why he can't get ahead, and anyway, he can get somebody else, just in case she forgets the recent statistics and all of his personal charms and untapped capacity. The strong black woman feels frequently that she is regarded as a mere workhorse with no time off for strong behaviors or the job or in the family either. With her feeling and herself neglecting the strong black woman may quickly fall into the alternate fantasy that an outside man will make her burden lighter, even help to hold her battered and shanky marriage together, enabling her to tolerate an unhappy situation, to put up with the constant emotion rain. Such sisters have learned how it keeps a smile and straight face with intimacy or intermediate sippings into darkness, even as the brother is out tipping, gingling or gingerling with some long, tall Sally. Interesting. Interesting. Very interesting. The problem with all of this is that it remains what they call superfluous. When what we need as an oppressed race seeking social change is psychological and social stability, strong discipline. Hawkins Madhubuti, Don L. Lee, for instance, has spoken on this need in a recent Black News interview, and there are essays in the wings and in the making by a number of leading Black intellectuals seeking a reconsideration, for instance, of the pre-colonial African practice of polygamy. But if current families forms have outlived their usefulness, we should change them by our own direction and initiative, not by confronting the adaptation to oppression, nor according to the scrupulous design of the matter's mistress. Meanwhile, these speculations cannot be used as counterfeits, license, or rationalization for the Black male to fail his role and his commitment in the mating. But we may need something to give the brother a break, for he needs to believe in himself, and in the process to knowing that we believe in him. We must keep the burden keep the brother alive and stepping sisters, but there are times when the brother may need another helping hand. As soon as he reaches out for one, we will offer him others and the needs it is deserving it, or need and is deserving of it. In other words, we can't work it out. Before we evolve a solution to anything, we must first begin to understand the nature of the problem. Further, we will sooner or later have a confront to reality that is currently for too many persons, male and females, know, profess, and even preach one thing while relentless practicing another. We are living too in a time when it is conventional, even required, that we will look at the world and our predicaments through rose-colored glasses that we will deem on grounds on the oppressor crackpot psychologically theory and existence of our difficulties, choosing from among them what is positive to spotlight that otherwise we ought neglect to call out any unnecessary attention. There is a reason for our current reciprocal to a polyamorous psychology, or we call poly-N psychology. At certain times in the struggle against oppression, whenever the oppressor begins to feel too weak to violently confront the oppressed head on, especially when we'll seek instant to focus on persuading the oppressor of their native worth. This cult of image making used to frankly take the form of trying to win white heart soul before the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which broke down segregation, restaurants, and similar public accommodations, aimed empty warning the riots will occur around integrating eating. Then came the black that force and fear until the deny will play in matters of social change and freedom. The case can even be made, and has been, that fear was the ingredient that first ignited the white man's soul that grew, now rationalized by the ideology of racism, into the machinery of color oppression after his initial intimidating encounters with the dark people upon stepping consciously off the ships. If I feel you are inferior to me, I will rush to give you the head start or offer the fight you with one arm bound behind my back. But if I am not quite sure of our relative capacities, I will seek the advantage for myself. We struggle as black people to persuade the white man of an unheralded worth when what he fears about all is that we just might be superior, seeing as he does in a white man logic analysis that what he has left us unto whenever sports or entertainment industries, indeed, even while restricting and restraining, say, the international diplomacy, we proceed to dominate. So it appears that we have tried to convince the wrong man. What we need to do is persuade ourselves of our own true worth, but this cannot be done by denial and persistence. For where we once had shame, we now have guilty and shame, knowing in our heart that we have lied when we pretend that black people as a group do not suffer special problems in their family relations that derive unilaterally from their racial oppression. Besides, what tripped up the slave is desired to impress to gain recognition and prove from the master. Instead, we must first accept the premise that we do have a problem. If you're with us, let us face the problem firmly. Let us have the simple courage to learn new ways while remembering to unlearn outmoded old ones. The things we will need to know may be in the realms of the cognitive new knowledge of our relationships, their subtle intricacies, and how oppress impact upon them, but we will also have to learn new ways of feeling towards ourselves and others, new ways of responding one-on-one before we can change others, or in the process, we must change ourselves, for oppression distorts the reality of both the master and the slave. We will need new knowledge of ourselves and our emotions. Let us start with a recognition of black male secrets, doubts, and his need to feel that his woman believes in him if he is to break the vicious cycle of stereotypes and personal performance. It is understandable that a black man and his woman, sensing that his success or performance is rooted up to his potential, let alone when unemployment hits, will both be anxious. At the very time when they will need to keep clear heads and stick together, they will frequently begin to spite on themselves to project the blame on the other. In the face of black women criticism and growing doubts, the black male, far from being spurred to greater efforts and tendencies, will lavish ambiguity and anxiety, projecting his anguish onto his judgmental mate, leaving the capacity to cope further crippling. He may feminize her, that is, chastise her for her failures in the feminine traditions, while she condemns crucial aspects of his masculinity. See, it works both ways. I'm condemning you. You're not feminine enough. You're not acting like a lady. You're not this. You're that. You're acting too masculine. The woman, in rebuttal, said, well, you're not manly enough. You're acting some way. I can't respect no weak men. Those type of things. That's I'm just adding on. So, not part of the book. But continuing. He may culinary art jab at her beauty by conjuring her excessive poach, decry her ignorance of things philosophically, not to mention the political while complaining all the while of her emasculization and critique of him and his career starving, he may focus upon a subversion or supervision of the kitchen and the children as to compete with his mate in mutual and by now retaliatory criticism of each other, leaving no safe territorial imperative, no space or turf in which either can retreat. While preoccupied in the correction of each other, they naturally neglect to correct themselves unconsciously, latch in a copious cycle of counter criticism. In his defense, let us admit that the black man upbrings his place him at a disadvantage, rearing as he is and must be to compete in a marketplace that now blatant plays him cheap, persuasive of the importance of being, as sociologists say, instrumental instead of expression or expressive. Even in the cold and empty environment of the anonymous metropolis, the black man will find more opportunities to be expressive than instrumental. In this analysis, he is understandably more likely to compare to the black woman to pick up a distorted reality or develop a screw pathology response to the instrumental role he is forced to play. At a handicap in society, that I look on him as a man-child, but sees him as posing a special threat to dominant white patriarchy. In this context, many black women complain that the black man does not talk to her feelings when he or when she comes home weary in the evening, complaining at the end of a hard-working day about the white man pressuring and faults, privilege, restraints, and exclusive opportunities in the marketplace, that he is somehow personally condemned. He would rather take a walk or find a place on the corner, the pool room, or the pulpit to pose and posture with the brothers simultaneously in a better area to impress, elaborate out of policy of polyan, which prohibits the expression of family conflict. What they lose and miss as a couple are the many small skills Olympiad. Moreover, they fail to develop the feelings itself or tranquilizer the family. Strife that whenever comes up, whenever happens, somehow they know they can't work it out. Or they can work it out. And they should work it out, to be honest with you. The white woman lacks a long familiarity with the marketplace. Frustration of the black male and comes out of a bag of association with men who have always seemed to thrive there. He doesn't believe he can make it in the white man's system. I'll show him the way and hook him up with the right connections with men. I know who has made it. I'll regard him as a man-child in our promised land and wait for him to learn. All he needs is me. The black woman, by contrast, approaches the black man with a long prior history of masculine failures, stretching from the mates she has previously known to her own fathers, perhaps in the majority of cases, to her grandfathers, and ultimately to chattel slavery. She too has seen males making it, for she was privy to the plantation kitchen, then the maid clothes intimacy, perhaps fanning flies around the dinner's letters in the white collar bureaucracy. Even if she may make less money than the blue-collar black male, she sees the system working. Without meaning to, she will mimic and nagging, scolding mothers in her dealing with the black men. However, sweet and subtle, they may sometimes appear. Go near the water. Why can't you swim like Mr. Charlie? Mr. Charlie, Mr. Charlie, you there? Mr. Charlie. You know how sisters love to call the white man Mr. Charlie. You feel me? How to have a full confidence in the competent starving of the black male economically is a challenge that no scientist or inventor has the vision to persuade her. But she will learn, for she is resourceful woman, man-child strategy, approaching the oppressive black male as would an infant begins to walk, without at all meanings to denigrate him by the comparison, but she will rise above the handicap of history. She will keep this secret knowing to herself even when she is angry. When a child stands up and tries to walk, take 1, 2, maybe 3 steps forward, we do not throw up our hands in a total dismay. Oh, how nice! Look at him walk, we say to the toddler as they land once more on his bottom. We refrain from killing his spirit too soon. His will to go on neglects to inhibit or frighten his merging endeavors. It is the black male who must and will soon get up and walk, but it is black females who must encourage and reform him in the early trials and tribulations. The black man who has learned to feel so loved and fully inadequate, to feel that he can cope with any conflict in a dying racialism, with understanding that although it is true that deep in her bones the woman does not respect and walk or weak men, the weakest of all men may be that man who in his incidental rebellion, even violent outbursts and explosions, unconsciously collaborates with the white man, nevertheless, in corroding black family relations, a process to keep a race in disarray and even more subject to dehumanizing subjugation and control. For this reason, we as a people must begin to recognize that our task is twofold: strategy to alter and improve our most intimate relations, and in turn our institutionalized life to codify and unify, while in the process of changing and preparing to change the entire social structure, knowing that there is no possibility of a free and healthy relationship. And in the fullest sense, in an oppressive morality, decadence, and amorphous society, but rather than fall victim to the old chicken or the egg seesaw, we will choose the face of oppression on both fronts. As the air is filled with pollution and white men culture sags and continually decay, while Miss Ann encouraged and backed up by Mr. Charlie fantasize, historicize, and legalize around him, faint potentializing of being raped, or what do you call potentializing of being raped. From the bank of the river Niger to the shores of the Mississippi and the swamps of New Orleans is one biorhythmic eruption. Everlasting will unleash and brave creations of a new and visible social order for ourselves and our proud prodigy. That concludes this chapter. Summarizing from Nathan and Julius here, that there are steps to come out of this, but it's going to take teamwork and work, where both the women must understand the plight of the black man, and the black man must have a clear understanding of why the black woman acts the way she does. These are two Pan-African people that put in a lot of work in their communities, Nathan and Julius Hare. And their works are always going to be respected nonetheless. Now, in prediction, what I see, zero ends. Is it really the inevitable for black people? What you see now in the 21st century, you're seeing slowly hard times for a lot of people in America. And you're going to see even harder times for black people. Nonetheless, only black people have destiny to change their outcomes, not only in the West, but globally. You have the power, you have the capability to change your destiny. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. So, the next chapter will be chapter 12. Be on the lookout for that. For those that are new to this channel, Zero Ends, make sure you leave a comment, hit a like button, and subscribe to this channel. So that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening to this stream. Enjoy. Until next time, take care.